Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. The season's over for Collingwood. Can't say the same for the man to our right in the Pommy. I don't think you need an introduction at this point, Matt. I think you're well known around this neck of the woods in the footy scene. But if people aren't privy to your content, tell us what you're about, mate.
Well, I mean, basically, I'm just a Pom, just hanging about, loving the game. I am a Carlton fan, unfortunately for you, Magpie faithful, but I'm a nice one. If there is such a thing, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm a nice one.
And despite Pommy being a Carlton fan, he's very well versed when it comes to trades and drafts. And it's ironic because the man's been in, how long have you been in Australia for now, Pom?
Coming up to 13, 14 years now.
And he knows more than most Australians about anything and everything footy, trade, draft. And it just goes to show if you use your brain a little bit, you can probably outwit 99% of the existing world that resides in the world of AFL. So there you go.
Hey, mate, if you use this head, you can go quite far.
No, you're good. Pommy, I just want you to remember this name, Chris Cassette. That's my brother. He loves trolling you and Terry. He sometimes goes in as an alias. So just remember this name. If you ever see it in the Blue Broad chat or the watch-alongs, just remember this name because he likes to talk tough behind the screen. He's a big dog, but he also likes to be tough behind the big screen as well.
He's got the arm rig as well, hasn't he? Look at him. Hey,
yeah, he's a big dog.
That is, I got a little bit pissed in Bali, innit?
That's him, man. That's him. But let's get into it. Pommy, we got people waiting for us. We got Rick. We got big fucking Manny Costo. Digsby's here. Digsby loves the chat, mate. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen Digsby in the chat before, man.
Hey, Digsby, he's a good lad, Digsby.
Yeah. And Wooden Spoon done.
And Wooden Spoon. Hey, take some legends in here.
Yeah, there's a few involved. So it's good to see everyone still, despite St Kilda not being involved, Colin not being involved, people still want to hear from us somehow. But, mate, let's talk about the big fish and the elephant in the room. And let's start with the Trac because he's doubled down that he wants to leave Melbourne, right? But herein lies the issue is what do other clubs have to give up for a superstar in Trac? And I'll let you just take the floor from here, man. You're the genius. Go to work, mate. Go hard.
It's going to be an interesting one because I did a video on this. Goal-kicking mids are as rare as rocking horse poo. So when you're trading one, you're definitely looking for value here. So you would say the first port of call for Melbourne would definitely be a key forward, which makes sense. Sam McClure, man bun or not, we've got to take his word for it. He said that they want TDK, Harry or Charlie, which makes sense. If you are Melbourne, you're probably cashing in to fix an immediate need now. Pick-wise, we can only go off the Jeremy Cameron deal, which was 3 firsts, 2 seconds. I don't want to speculate on mental health, physical health of Christian Petracca, because obviously the AFL clubs will do due diligence before they even agree to this deal. So let's assume 2025, Christian Petracca, round 1, he's ready to kick ass and take names, albeit after doing a shit TikTok. So they're definitely going to be wanting, I'd say, at least 2 firsts with maybe something coming back. Makes a problem because I don't think Carlton, who are linked with him, will want to give up picks. I think that they have committed to the draft in the next couple of years. Target acquisition. So it's going to be someone who's going to blow out their trade window. Now, I think with Collingwood, it's going to be interesting because do you have a key forward they're interested in? I don't think you do, because I also think you're in the market for a key forward as well. So this is going to be an interesting thing. And I've got Brodie Grundy all over this. I've got a feeling that Melbourne may make the mistake and knock back a good deal this year. And then next year, it suddenly become too much too soon. And you may get him cheap. But it's an interesting one because Petracca is someone that you will sell the farm for. It's clinically proven. Goal-kicking mids win you flags. You guys did it with 4. no forward.
Yeah, that's right. And do you think with this whole Petrarca saga is he requesting the trade a year too early? And what I'm alluding to, I guess, is the whole change with the trade rules, trading ahead in the future. Can you, I guess, extend on that a little bit and explain to why maybe like it's sure if something can get done for Trac this year, great. But I think it could be made a bit easier for all parties involved if this was to have occurred a year from now, as opposed to where we are right now.
I suppose you've got to ask Petracca. I mean, I'm assuming, bearing in mind, I don't know Petracca. This could be the biggest blaghead move ever, and it's just literally taking the piss. But I'd assume that obviously for this to be leaked, he is desperately unhappy there. Yeah. I can see Manny talking about getting him for nothing. There is an AFL rule where effectively it's a little bit like, when you see these American kids, because they didn't get a blue bike for Christmas, they got a red one. So they divorced their parents. The American, we can divorce our parents because our parents are mean and nasty. There is a way that you can go through the AFL. You can apply to the AFLPA, the Players Association, and basically say that your working conditions are unreconcilable. Now, the problem you've got with that is the AFL are closing loopholes to make it fair. Before? It's never happened before, no. And there's been cases where it could have done, but teams have handed over players for like next to nothing. It's worth noting there's always these cases where you hear players are unhappy and then they suddenly do a pick swap for like a third and they go. It usually doesn't get to that stage, but it has to be noted it's never been a good player. It's usually been a speculative player, someone that who's unfulfilled to talent. I think if that happens, the club who does that is going to be in a lot of trouble. It's going to rub the AFL clubs up the wrong way. Great case note was Carlton with Sauce, with Jack Martin. Gold Coast got their chests out, said we're not giving him away. Carlton were adamant they'd go to the preseason draft. And you look after that, Carlton's ability to get deals done for the next 2 years while Stephen Silvani was there was almost a nightmare. And it's taken Nick Austin 3 years to repair that trust. The AFL is a competition, but in list management, it is also best mates. So whoever goes that route, it could be a disaster if you want to get business done later down the track.
So where does it go? If you had to put your money on it, your bottom dollar, what happens with Petracca in this offseason?
I think he leaves. I genuinely think he leaves. And I think you may see some kind of... someone's going to have to make way. Someone's going to have to make way. So,
as in something's got to give as far as accepting a lesser deal if you're Melbourne, or are you saying something's got to give in a sense that a team like a Collingwood or a Carlton might have to give up a player as well as picks to make up for what Petracca's worth right now?
Yeah, and I think the media are doing him a favour. We know Melbourne play the media. So look at Clayton Oliver. Them rumours of Clayton Oliver's off-field discretions went on for 6 months. So I'm telling you right now, Melbourne didn't make statements for a reason, which is one of the reasons that's pissed Petracca off. He's come out and said that. I feel at the moment Melbourne are playing the media to make Petracca look the bad guy, which I think will bite them in the arse. Because let's be honest, Petracca nearly died on field. He should be, I'm really sorry, Mr. Petracca. What can we do to make life better? At the moment, he's becoming the scapegoat. So Melbourne are going to have to react. So clubs know that as well. Player power here is very much a thing. And there's going to be a situation where Melbourne, there's lots of avenues Christian Petracca can go down to make life hard without filing a disassociation. Yeah. So I reckon this could be one last day of the window, a compromise is made. What that compromise is made is not. But the AFL don't want that. Because if Petracca goes with that rule, suddenly that opens the door to other players doing it. And that's the last thing all the clubs want, a player being able to disassociate from that kind of reason.
Yeah. And with Petracca, the reality is he wants out and he's doubled down, he's tripled down. The media are exploiting it now, so it's working in his favour. And it's like I said, it sounds like it's going to be a situation where Melbourne are probably going to have to give up something for the sake of their reputation. Whereas if it was next year where that new rule in place with the trades becomes available, where if we're in the off season of 2025, clubs have an option to trade their first round pick from 2025, 26 and 27. And then it's probably no dramas. Almost any club could have their hand on Petracca if that's the case. But the fact that he wants out this year, there's going to be a compromise, like you said, right?
It's interesting. Keziah Pickett, that noise is moving, that he wants to go. The Clayton Oliver Adelaide rumour is starting to gain tracks again as well. And I'd say if I was an interstate club, Clayton Oliver would definitely be someone I'd look at. I think it's going to be a very intelligent one. And I think it will be between Carlton and Collingwood. It would be very interesting, though, because Chris makes a great point. He is an open Collingwood fan. So that makes me always laugh. Does it have much bearing in the AFL anymore? I don't think it does. They all drink together. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing more sickening than a Carlton Collingwood game, and then they're in the freaking Rebs at 3 a.m, beers together. Nothing worse, mate. At least pretend to hate each other.
Yeah, it's a different world these days, isn't it? But okay, so that's where we're at with Trac. So people in the Pies footy community are saying there's no chance. Collingwood don't have the stock, and Carlton obviously a different situation with Mackay and whatnot. But it sounds like the way you're explaining things is player power is massive these days, and that's what ultimately could get Petracca over the line. When I asked you, what do you think? I thought you were going to lose your testicles. I thought they were going to go up your stomach, but then you did say you think he will leave. So you're giving us faith, mate. You're giving us faith for that one.
Yeah, and it depends how Christian Petracca is, in my opinion. He hasn't really... It does seem when I watched that interview the other day, he seems pissed. So it could be savable, but the way it's going in the media, this screams it's not savable. So the AFL wants to avoid at all costs anything mental health related, which is why players go across. If Christian's talking to the AFLPA and saying that you really don't want to go there, that you're asked to your barn dance, whatever price you have on Petracca isn't the price once they get involved.
Yeah. Okay. Pommy, let's move on because John Noble has obviously made a request to move to Gold Coast. Whether that happens or not is yet to be seen, and we'll know more as the off-season develops. And you mentioned in the pre-game show last week before Melbourne, you go, "Hey mate, what do you think about Alex Davies?" And he was nowhere to be heard of in this whole conversation. He's just come about in the conversation the last couple of days. So talk to us about John Noble. At the moment, I'll tell you, Pom, I'll just quickly tell you, Gold Coast have pick 6, pick 13, pick 20, all in the first round. And Jack Lukosius and Alex Davies are in trade talk. So what do you have at that?
Well, this is a fascinating one, isn't it? Because John Noble has been almost a staple of Collingwood under McRae. Like, he was like the most picked player, wasn't he, at one point? Like, he's always in that team. Interesting, though, that Gold Coast have obviously talent acquired that running halfback role, which is fascinating because they've been linked with Dan Rioli. This guy, I think any running halfback at the moment is off to Gold Coast. Yeah. This is an interesting one because Alex Davies, yes, we talked about that. Are the media copying Pom? It would be great. Now, obviously, he's that non-free agent, so that's the worst tier of AFL contracts because
we'll come back to Pom. I do need you to explain the tiers because even my head's not around that. So we'll come back to that.
Well, non-free agent, he's effectively unemployed end of September, but by the rules of the AFL, a trade must be sought for him, or he enters the draft. So
unrestricted free agent, is that what it is? Unrestricted free agent, essentially. And
no, so there's 3 tiers. There's unrestricted, restricted, and then there's non-free agent. So non-free agent is effectively, he doesn't fall into the restricted category. He hasn't been there long enough to be an unrestricted. So he's just basically, technically you see it as requested a trade. And the trade would have to be sought for him to move clubs. It's not like you can just offer him a deal. So this is usually one of them backhanded deals, a 4th rounder, a 3rd rounder. Could be used in the John Noble deal, though. I reckon it brings the price down for them. It suits you if you want to lose him. John Noble, though, for me, he's played a lot of games and he's been rated above AFL average. So I think you guys will be definitely pushing here. I could see a future pick for McGuan next year and Davies being used as the steak knives.
Yep, steak knives. We got a steak knives and Jack Crisp as well. So I just want to revisit the free agent. So non-free agent, you have to facilitate a trade, otherwise they will fall into the national draft. Unrestricted free agent, you can facilitate, or there won't. There isn't a trade that needs to be facilitated. You can just take them for peanuts, essentially. And if it's a big salary, there's compensation for the other team involved.
Yeah, so when you've got the restricted free agency, which is probably the most famous one, the one that we always see where Maribor Chol, where someone just offers an obscene amount of money and then imaginary pick comes from Daddy AFL. To be in that, you've got to have served 8 years with just one club. You're out of contract and you're in the top 25% of the earners of the club. So at that point, as a player, you can offer me 600K. My club offers me 600K. I choose to move to your club, though. The AFL compensate my current club so I can come to you. Unrestricted free agent is something that falls outside of them category that has been there at the club for a sustained period of time. So how that works in a trade, that's someone who's been there 8 years or more, is out of contract, and he's permitted to move anywhere he wants. And no trade is done. You can just walk. So 600K from you. My employers are giving me 650. You raise it to 700K. I go, right, okay, I'm coming for the money. Bye. You get nothing. You get me. Non-free agent, I am effectively unemployed in 2 weeks' time. Yep. My club offered me money. You offer me money. I want to come to you. I have an option. I either stay at my club and hope you trade for me, or I can enter the preseason draft or the national draft if I'm eligible, and you can pick me up there, but anyone can pick me up. So this is where we usually get Jack Martin. We went to the preseason draft count and we cheated the system and we made him put a value on himself so no one would pick him. Or it's like Elijah Hollands. It's a backhanded deal. Nick Newman, a backhanded deal at the end of the draft. 4th rounder, shake hands. We get the player. So this is generally an easy one to get done. So Alex Davis, perfect for steak knives here because they get their player, you get something, and they get compensated for Alex Davies.
So we're saying Noble for Davies and a 2nd rounder, or what does that look like?
I'd say it probably would be fair. You look at Gold Coast, they've got a couple of academy players next year. So with the new rules, they're probably going to do some little manipulation of that, I would imagine, because they're masters of it. They've definitely got Leonardo Lombard this year, so that's a massive plus. Hopefully, they'll be hoping he slides so they get 2 firsts this year to use before the rules change. So I would say a future 2nd would help you with Thomas McGuan next year. And Alex Davis is the steak knives. And I think that's about the money, in my opinion, because I think John Noble is a very good footballer. I think Alex Davis is an incredible footballer. I'm a huge fan of him. Untapped talent. I think they've made a big mistake, but they've got great players who play his position. I think he'll be a superstar for you guys. An absolute great pickup is Alex Davis.
Okay, and he's an on-baller or winger, or what do we say?
He's an on-baller. He plays inside. He models his game on Tuck Miller.
Yep.
So when he was through the draft, that's what he was kind of modeling himself on. He's shown a little bit as well, I think, in the AFL draft. I mean, the AFL so far as well. He's got a little bit of chutzpah about him. He's incredibly clean. He's direct as well. And he's probably his weaknesses are still there. Like, he's just his distribution, his ball usage. But I believe in imprint learning. You've got the best player in the league at working from tight spaces in Scott Pendlebury. A year with Scott Pendlebury, and this guy's going to pick up some good traits. So I think Davis will be a cracking player for Collingwood. One to look out for should he move.
Yeah. And Jack Lukosius doesn't seem like he's going to be a viable option. I think today there was news that he has a quite heavily back-ended deal at Gold Coast, entering the I guess the 7-figure mark of the million, and Gold Coast aren't willing to like pay for a large portion of that amount to get him over to someone like Collingwood. So I think Collingwood are effectively out of that conversation. They're hoping for something like what happened with Jack Bowes going to Geelong.
Yeah. Only Geelong get them type of deals. The biggest criminality in the AFL draft, that and how the AFL allowed that to happen beyond me. But yeah, it's scheduled at $1 million over 2 years, so that's 500K.
Okay,
so that's
right.
That's a lot. That is a lot of coin. Is he worth it though? I think Lukosius is another Elijah Hollands. I think he's been horrifically treated by Gold Coast in the terms of positioning. I think that they've utilised him wrong. He was a jet key forward, known for his kicking. There was talk he'd go up to half forward. They've played him on the wing, off halfback as an interceptor. He's definitely suffering from no continuous role.
Yeah.
I know the rumours are Adelaide and Port. It makes sense. He's a Adelaide boy.
Yeah.
I always think this has a bit of pull though. 90,000 at the G. This is why Carlton and Collingwood can attract these players. You're guaranteed to be playing in front of nearly 100K a week. Like, do you want that? And that'll be interesting. But you guys look like you've put yourselves out of that. So good player though, Lukosius. Good player. I like him.
Heaps happening, man. Heaps happening at Gold Coast, but that's typically the case with Gold Coast in the off seasons. Peatling. I heard about Peatling being an option for Collingwood. I get another player I do not know jack shit about. Do you know anything about Peatling? I think he's from Port Adelaide.
James Peatling. It feels like every year, though, doesn't it? We've got to be honest that every year we have a player in the AFL that is a GWS cast-off that someone is picking up. So, GWS Academy boy, very rare he didn't get picked up. He was picked up in the rookie draft. They made it fashionable to rookie academy players before it became an official rule with the AFL this year. But he is a pace merchant, real pace merchant, can play out wide, deployed halfback and the wing. I think from memory in his draft year, it's going way back, but I think he ran a 3-second sprint time in the 20 meters. So that's pretty impressive. That's lightning when you're as big as he is, because he ain't a small guy. He's quite bulky. So definitely a point of difference. It suits your game because you guys are a very
17 games this year. The most in his career.
He's played a bit, bro.
16 coaches voted as well. He gets recognised.
Mate, not a bad little player, and definitely with you're moving Josh Dacos. Looks like he's got some new roles. Definitely a guy that's got a very good engine and a bit of foot speed for you. And you guys like your foot speed, don't you? You're the anti-Carlton. We like slow, stodgy players. You like quick, flashy players.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting. He had 10 coaches votes against Brisbane a few weeks back, 20 touches, 11 contested possessions. I don't know. There's nothing else I'd have to watch 9 clearances. So, okay. Maybe I should. I guess it's one of those ones, Pommy, when you're interstate, you're not in Melbourne, you don't watch these teams as often, and he's definitely flown under my radar. He looks okay. I'm gonna have to watch him. I'm actually have to watch some highlights and see what he's about. Is there anything that springs to your mind, or what do you see that you like about Peatling when you watch him? He didn't play much against Carlton though either. I think he got injured or something.
Well, I mean, as a Carlton fan, GWS are our B team. You've got to remember. So, GWS B team. We love a GWS play. But, I mean, one thing that is noticeable at him is he's quick. I do remember in his draft year, definitely playing that out wide position. So he's definitely a decent winger. Not scared of his defence. So he's really suits what you guys do. He's a two-way runner. He's got a bit of chutzpah about him. He's quick. He's a good decision maker as well. Definitely someone that you could see learning off Steele side bottom and just you guys turning in. I mean, I think Davis and Peatling are just quietly, if you get them to, that's a pretty good return for losing Josh Noble already.
So he's been in the system since 2021, has James Peatling. Well, that's when he made his debut. What's he worth then? If we're gonna invest some interest in someone like Peatling?
Well, the big issue you've got with GWS is there is not many teams that overvalue their players more than GWS.
Right.
So GWS do like to add a little bit of mayo on there. Ask any Carlton fan. They always sell you he's going to be gold, and he's not. James Peatling, his contract status, let's just have a quick check, is James Peatling. So he's, again, another non-free agent. So he's going to be another guy that you're going to have to trade for. I would say probably this will be interesting. Is this a case that you get a future second for Davis and you want to trade that? I reckon that makes sense for them. GWS again next year. I've got some probably third, second round players is landlocked to their NGA, but probably a second, third for him. I'd say a second would be good money.
Okay. I'm just sorry. Just give me 1 second. I'm just on Zero Hanger because that's.
I reckon that would be a good deal. If you went Noble, future second for Davis, the future second went to GWS for the Pete dog. I think Collingwood would be like, that's a net win.
Yep. Because then we'd have if we take where is it? Sorry, if we take Gold Coast 34 from so we give Noble to Gold Coast for 34, pick 34 and Davies, and then we subsequently have 34 and pick 32 and try work our magic and get Peatling with one of those picks is what you're suggesting. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that could be something that's very... I mean, these two deals are very easy ones to facilitate because I don't think they hold a mass amount of value to the club currently holding him, because Peatling has been in the team, 16 times this year, but he definitely wants to probably play full-time, and I'd say he's probably a shoe-in. He'd probably love it coming to Collingwood, wouldn't he? Melbourne, bright lights, happy days.
Yep.
Makes you sick.
Moving on, mate. Fuck this. Being one in the big four, Pom, you'd know. Fuck, like the off-season. We're not in the off-season, or Collingwood are, but there's a lot of trade talk happening, and it's good for us content creators, anyways. This month of August has been crazy views-wise already. But Joe Richards. So Collingwood had 5 contract extensions today, Pom. We had Oscar Steen, we had Pendlebury, Howe, Sidebottom, and Hoskin Elliott. No Joe Richards a part of that conversation just yet. So is that the writing on the wall for Joe Richards to be moved on to Port Adelaide? And if so, what do you imagine Collingwood getting back for someone like Joe Richards?
This one's quite sad for me because I'm a big Joe Richards fan.
And look what Liz has said, by the way. We'll touch on that as well with Membry.
Hey, I froth a little bit of Joe Richards. I really like the pickup when you do it in the mid-season draft. Guy is a goal-kicking machine. This is an interesting one because it's Port Adelaide, isn't it, the team that's linked with him? I mean, you'd say 55 gets it done, which will be interesting.
Pick 55 from Port. You think Collingwood are going to have to part ways with Richards for pick 55?
You probably look. It's always fascinating this because when you sell a player, you want the world, and when you buy a player, you want him for peanuts. So
what about pick 37? Pick 37 from Port.
No chance. No chance. I always look at it. I like doing opposition trade rumors because I hate my. I hate doing it for my own club because you've got a little bit of passion for the player. But if I was buying Joe Richards, I would say 55 would be about the money. Very speculative pick for Joe Richards because we just don't know if he's going to make it in the AFL. This is
what
really
I think it is, Tom, as well. I think the issue with Richards in this situation is, I think the rumor is Collingwood don't want to give a contract longer than what Port Adelaide are currently offering. I think on the table, Port are offering 3 or 4 years and Collingwood are not offering that long of a contract. The reason why I think Collingwood are a little bit reluctant to do so is we've already got Bobby, we've got Bo, we've got Lockie Schultz. So Bobby, Bo, Lockie Schultz. I'm missing someone. Jamie Elliott. If they sign on Joe Richards on an extended contract, a long contract, that means he's likely competing directly with someone like Lockie Schultz, and I don't think Collingwood want to have to eat their words and have to drop someone like Lockie Schultz after giving away a first-round draft pick. I think it's what you call it, the sunk cost fallacy. I think that's what you call it, Pom.
No, spot on. I mean, this is Joe Richards. Look, like Peatling. Like, he's played 16 times. He's always been like the 24th, 23rd man. So he probably wants to play. You look at the people in front of him, they're pretty brand names, aren't they? So Collingwood don't want to tie up for a 4-5 year deal, because if he's shit, you're not going to trade him because he hasn't got any credits in the bank. So that's a risk for them. This is down to Joe Richards. Do you want to go to Port Adelaide? You've got security, fair enough, but this is where you've got to sell it on your brand. I think Collingwood have done the right thing. An extension, here it is, but you're going to have to earn it. And whether Collingwood come back and say, here's a 2-year extension, a bit like we did with Alex Cincotta, there's a silent extension should you break into the team and play X amount of games, to give him that security where it's in his hands. If you play X amount of games, you get here. That's going to be an interesting one, because I don't think there's any worth for Port Adelaide taking that risk, to be honest. But, I mean, if I was Joe Richards' agent, I'd be saying Jamie Elliott is one more injury away from retiring.
Yep.
Lockie Schultz is one more 0-goal game away from the Collingwood fans driving him back to Fremantle, finding the receipt. You're in a good... I actually think it's easier to play for Collingwood than it is Port. Like, in that position, I think that's a prime position, because you guys live by the small forwards. Port don't.
Yeah, good point. Good point. He's in a system that really caters towards the small forwards, and really Collingwood build it around the small forwards rather than the key forwards, which is why, and we're seeing some comments in the chat saying we need a key forward. But with McStay and Myercheck available, outside of that, do we really need anyone else that is key size position right now for Collingwood? Do we really need a Tom Lynch? We'll throw him in the conversation while we're at it.
You see, my issue with Collingwood's small forwards, and look, like, don't get me wrong, you guys booked the trend when you won the flag, because I feel like key forwards most overrated position in the AFL. Like, it isn't even close for me. Like, if you're a giant and you kick a goal, fuck me, you are heralded as the next big thing. But my only issue with McStay is I think McStay is incredibly important to Collingwood's structure. The issue is the injuries. Can you back Dan McStay 30 games every year? Chris makes a great point. Tom Lynch. This guy probably speaks to the physio at Richmond more than his wife, right? Right. So that's a huge risk. Like, if you're buying him backup and the guy walks around most of the year like he stepped on a landmine, that's a problem. And the only one I would say, and Wooden Spoon Data, spot on. I know you hate it. I don't mind Membry. I really don't. I think Membry...
What status is he, by the way? What status is Membry, agency-wise?
Oh, Tim Membry. Tim Membry is, and you'll love this because he is like the budgie. Tim Membry is an unrestricted free agent, so it is purely the price of the contract.
Right. And we've just signed our veterans on 1-year contracts, so probably almost a veterans minimum, I would imagine, to get players in like Membry. I was saying to you, Pommy, like, I think if you look at the Collingwood side, though, Myercheck, McStay, Bobby, Lockie, Bo, Jamie Elliott, like, that's your starting six in the forward line. How do you fit in Tim Membry in there?
Well, I think Tim Membry comes across. He's playing the same role at St Kilda. He's the break glass in case of emergency. I think he's very versatile, Tim Membry. I think the big thing about Tim Membry as well, people don't talk about, he's heavily involved with Max King. He's heavily been talked about by their forward coaches, that he passes on the wisdom. I think he gives you an option to draft someone with one of your later picks to try and bring in someone to learn off him. I think the big thing as well is you've never played like a 3-tall system, 2-tall system, because in all honesty, you've not had them. I think this gives you a little bit of flexibility. And T. Mellor makes a great point. I'm a huge fan of Ash Johnson. It's never quite worked. I think Tim Membry is a peanut steal that is risk-free. Clean bill of injuries, genuinely speaking, for a tall, vastly experienced. You know, round one, should there be an injury to Dan McStay, Brody Myercheck, this guy's ready to play. So I like that deal. I really do. I know you weren't turned on by it, but I am.
Now that you tell me he's unrestricted, though, I'm like, all right. And you make a great point. Collingwood never really had that third key tall option. We tried Hoskin Elliot, but that's probably not his best position because he's not consistent enough there and he's asked to do jobs elsewhere. Reece McInnes has been tried there, probably not tall and big enough for that role. So I see the justifications now. Can I ask, Granger Barras from the Hawthorn with Josh Battle and Tom Barras both electing to go to Hawthorn, what does this mean for someone like Denver Granger Barras? And not many people might be privy to this man because he's currently out with an ACL.
My boy, breaks my heart. What did Hawthorn do to my boy? I'm a big fan of this kid. Like, I'm a really big fan. And Denver Granger Barras, for me, is everything I think every team in the league needs. And if we're looking at trends, I think it's very important to look at trends. And one trend down back at the moment is one exciting interceptor and one guy that just sits there and defends. But ask any fan, they want Darcy Moore and Jacob Wheater paired up and it'll turn them on. But in a big reality check, it's always some miserable twat at fullback, exciting guy at centre halfback. And Denver Granger Barras is Mr. Miserable Twat. Gone to Hawthorn. The aim was to learn off Sicily. He was a strong interceptor, but aerially he was incredibly good one-on-one. They've tried to do that, quite rightly so. They've gone with Sam Frost. Sam Frost ain't exciting, but Sam Frost is reliable. He's been in and out of injured. I am telling you now, I watched a lot of Denver in his draft year. If you look after him, he will be a solid acquisition for almost peanuts here. So for me, he's definitely someone, if I was Collingwood Football Club, I wanted a key defender who has got a good reputation of turning players like Roughhead, one man's trash, you turned him into treasure. I would back my system in that I could make Denver Granger Barras be worth that top first round pick that he was at the start.
Josh Battle, Barras, basically the writing's on the wall for Denver Granger Barras is not getting in that team with as long as Sicily, Josh Battle, and Barras are living in that backline, right? So, do you think that's like it hasn't come to the forefront of the media scene when it comes to the talks of Denver Granger Barras? But do you think this is something that's going to come to light very shortly with the news of Battle and Barras actually electing officially to go to Hawthorn?
100%. I think, I think Lee Kalia at GWS now with Sam Taylor's 20-year contract, that's the end of his career. Harrison Himmelberg, Lee Kalia has to leave. I think also Denver Granger.
Why does Leak have to leave?
Well, if you look at them, he intercept mid defender, really Sam exciting. Taylor. But Harrison Himmelberg, Sam Taylor's now got that long contract extension. He hasn't broken in now. He's never breaking in. Taylor and Himmelberg are there for 5, 6, 7 years. So I think he's a man of interest. Denver Granger Barras, another man of interest. So he would definitely be someone I'd take a punt. You don't go first round of the draft because you're pants. He's got some talent. It makes sense while he hasn't played because that backline has been hemorrhaged and he's been injured. So I'm a big fan of this guy. I like Denv.
Interesting. Digby reckons he might get delisted, which I don't think they're going to
well, he's a non-free agent, so you can see this happening. So Digby is right. Nick Newman is a great example of how list managers work. Nick Newman was by Sydney being delisted when Carlton picked him up. They got wind that other clubs were going to offer him a contract as a delisted free agent, so they were going to do it. So Carlton quickly acted on the last day and offered pick 70 just to get him. So it could be a case here that maybe North have made contact. And if Collingwood say, you know what, Denver's someone we want, you pick up the phone to Hawthorn and go, look, you're going to delist him. We'll give you a future fifth right now. Get the job done. You can use that maybe next year for something or throw it away. But we want him here. Bang, gone across. Boom. Thank you very much.
And he was a top 10 pick initially, wasn't he? In his draft.
Yeah, he's got injured, but there is some incredible talent there. There's, like I'm telling you, he has got something, and these guys take ages to develop. And it makes sense. Hawthorne ain't going to risk him. Sam Frost, honestly, Sam Frost is, what key defenders, like Sam Frost to key defense is what Rosie O'Donnell is to Victoria's Secret models. It's not great, but he is pretty fucking good.
Interesting. Some food for thought there, 100%. And lastly, Pom, I know you've got what time's your show? Let everyone know
I'm 7, mate. Mate, I've got time, mate.
You're good. Sam Berry and Mark Keane. We actually haven't touched on Mark Keane and Sam Berry at all in this conversation. So Mark Keane's probably most familiar with Collingwood because of his history, and he's played consistently as that second key tall defender at Adelaide this year. It's by the sounds of things from what you've, I guess, educated me on and the viewers as well, is we could probably get someone like Mark Keane for a late second or third, I think you were saying when we were speaking earlier today. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Mark Keane, this is going to be a really, really interesting one because the rumours are, bearing in mind these are rumours, there's nothing concrete, but the talk of the town in the media, the relationship's broke down, he's gone back to Ireland, whether that's homesickness, whether that's issues there. Obviously, Australia, from being to Ireland a few times, even to a Pom, this place is alien to us. So I can understand if you're a small community boy, these guys who come from Gaelic football, it's an incredible community atmosphere. So providing he wants to come, I would say, Colin, I don't think Adelaide would stand in his way. I think you would be looking at a very late pick. I think for value, though, he is worth something because he's a key defender. He's played games. He's been in the system. He's a big body. He's very strong one-on-one. I think he's probably valued at a third. Could even be higher because there is a minority of these players in the AFL draft this year in picks later on. I think, though, you'd probably see Adelaide, should he say, look, I want to go to Collingwood and feel happy, probably if you might get him again, 4th, 5th pick.
Yeah. Does it mean anything, as Ben says here, Mark Keane is a rookie listed player? Does that mean anything on the trade table?
Absolute jack shit.
Yeah. Okay.
So all it means is that his contract is off the books per se. That's what the rookie is. Yeah. But it does mean that he'd have to come onto the senior list. So that would mean you couldn't cheat the system.
Yeah. So, and Tim makes a good point. We could probably get Mark Keane with that. What did you say? Pick 57 from Port? We could get, or 52 was it?
I think it might be later. I genuinely think clubs with the Irish experiment, if there is something going on there, I don't think Mark Keane is a player of interest. The one I would watch out for, though, is Harry Himmelberg's brother.
Elliot
Himmelberg. So last year, he was heavily linked to join his brother because the AFL and Australians, they're fascinating creatures. They love their brothers. In the UK, we spend our entire lives trying to get away from our brothers. In Australia, there seems to be this myth, brothers need to play together. It's fascinating. I love to see it. And Elliot Himmelberg has been heavily linked again with a GWS deal. This could be an interesting one because he struggled to fit in forwards, played Sandford down the back. If they do lose Elliot Himmelberg, looking at Adelaide's list, it's shy of a key defender. So Mark Keane could be a problem there. I'm surprised Carlton and you aren't linked with Lee Kalia. I think we need Lee Kalia probably more than you because I think Carlton have been playing Jacob Wheater in almost stupidly fullback. I think he should be a centre-half back attacking the ball. But he's one there I think he's got a high ceiling.
So Lee Kalia, I remember he had that amazing game. I forget who it was against earlier this year where he took some huge marks late in the game. He only played 8 games this year. And like I said, behind Sam Taylor, Himmelberg, Buckley, it's difficult, isn't it? he played a couple games in 2022, didn't play in 2023, and just 8 games this year. I just want to quickly draw back my attention. I think it was against Geelong. He had 15 touches and 11 intercept possessions and 6 intercept marks. That was a massive game from him, and we thought the hype was there. So in this case, what's in your eyes, what is Lee Kalia worth to Collingwood and Carlton?
This will be an interesting one because he's done that thing. He's got a wow moment. And there is such thing as a wow moment tax in the AFL. Yeah, if I can put you into YouTube and someone's made a sexy compilation of your 15 seconds of fame dragged out to 2 minutes, increase it. So this will be an interesting one. I would say Lee Kalia, if I was the selling club, this is where it's funny. He's definitely probably worth, in my opinion, that second rounder. I would be saying, if I was selling him, I'd be saying, right, let's look at the draft. Second round of the draft. Who have we got? We've got Matt Whitlock. You've got players like that. You've got maybe Cooper Hines, who's 190. Is he better than this guy? Probably not. So I want a second for him. So that's probably the stumbling block there. So it's definitely, like, for me, Mark Keane, if you want a defender, the go-home factor, the fact Elliot Himmelberg looks like he's going to request a trade to Adelaide and to GWS probably then inflates his value a little bit. They'll want something for it. I think that's a fascinating thing. I think this is the safest one for me. I agree with Freddie. I'm not a big fan of Elliot, but I mean, GWS, they do this disgusting thing, don't they? They turn some guy into a jet.
Hey, Pommy, you prick. By the way, Carlton pick 31 might just take someone like Matt Whitlock off Collingwood's hands at pick 32 as well, by the way. Would you be happy with that? Or would you, like, Thomas Sims is there as well, but he's a forward. Matt Whitlock, he actually played in the back line over the week and had like 24 touches, 11 marks, so he can play the swingman role very well.
For me, if I was Collingwood, right, so like Timas, is it full of talls? It's a real interesting draft because we don't get any tall player till about 8 to 10, 8 to 12, right? And then after that, they're all you've got 2 of them. You've got Armstrong and Mr. Luke Traynor in that cluster. So if you imagine 5 to 15, 2 of them. Then outside of that, then the second round of the draft, we've got Alex Taru, but stay away from him. Total speculative pick. This is the AFL seeing a giant and getting excited that he can run. Always laden with risk, that. Because AFL recruiters, they're surprised anyone over 200 can run. Yeah. And it hasn't dawned on them yet that this is normal. People are getting bigger and faster. But it is littered after that with them types of key forwards. Defenders, though, still a little bit of a crux here. So I think Jack Whitlock and Matt Whitlock, Matt's played more back. Jack has trialled it and a bit of ruck work. Matt Whitlock is, I think, definitely a sexy Nathan Murphy. A sexy Nathan Murphy. You know, like an actual one that turns you on. Because I feel like Nathan Murphy is so disrespected. And I like the Murph dog. But Matt Whitlock's sexy.
Interesting. I think Ben wants to know a little bit about Jasper Maher from the Sample or Waffle, is it? Are you familiar with this man?
Yeah, let me bring up my notes in my spreadsheet. I saw him do it. He always does it. But yeah, so Jasper, I wonder if Ben's referring to this for a while ago. We mentioned him in ones for Australia for you guys to watch out for in the later years of things that you might do. So Jasper is one of these very dirty little players. He's that guy that plays real medium-sized tall. He takes high marks, bit of a mature age player. This is definitely someone that you could. Also, you guys have seemed to have gone that key forward route, taking someone that's done very well in state football that you could turn into a star. Brody Myercheck was sensational local league. No one had him on their radar, but I remember catching a game because one of my mates played against him. And I remember when you guys picked him, it reminded me he played against him and he did all them things well. This could be something that you rookie pick and make something of. So I do think, me being a foreigner to your wonderful Collingwood Football Club, I do think a key forward is a target here for you guys. I know you're against it, but Brody Majacek ain't lasting forever. And I do think you can't argue McStay has been disappointing with his injury return. So I do think you need someone ready to go.
Yeah. I think I'd be more willing to look at a key forward within the draft with that pick 32 or, 48's a bit of a stretch anyways. But that, and as far as the trade table is concerned, I probably wouldn't want to stretch ourselves too far and wide searching for a key forward unless we can get him next to Peanuts. And I know Tom Lynch, injury prone, speaks more to his physio than his wife and so on and so forth. But
don't do Tom Lynch. Come on.
Does he just want a contract? Do we have to trade for him?
So Tommy Lynch would be a trade. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Membry, I think he's brilliant. Personally, you've only got 2 picks in the real draft this year, right?
Yeah.
In the real draft.
Yeah.
I think you target what you want to target and get Membry in as a backup. Hope one of your kids kicks on. Hope everyone off. But Tom Lynch, for me, he's so injury prone. Honest, I'm a Carlton fan. Anyone over 6'2" loves an injury at our place. I'd actually like to sign Tom Lynch. So when Marchbank plays his obligatory 2 games a year, I feel like it's an investment. That's how bad it is.
That's true.
Good player, though, Tom Lynch, but you've got to play on grass. You can't play on the physio room, unfortunately. Unless you're Gary Rowan, then you do play in the physio room.
Yeah. Hey,
that's neat.
This picture you're painting about Tim Membry is looking clearer and clearer to me. So I'm going to have to dive into that and rest on my bullets.
He looks like a Collingwood player, doesn't he, Membry?
With the tats, and whatnot. He does. He certainly does. He gives me Dane Beams vibes. He does give me Dane Beams vibes. I can't lie.
And Membry, I can sell him to Collingwood fans. He absolutely froths playing Carlton. That guy turns into Tony Lockett when he plays us.
Let's fact check this, Pom. I want to
He does.
What is Tim Membry's history against Carlton? I can pull that up really quickly.
Glad Terry's in chat. He got the physio reference. Come on, Collingwood. Doing you a service here making jokes, man. Don't get this anywhere else.
So people were mentioning Gary Rowan, included Big Dog Terry Degani in the chat from Blue Abroad. Is he available on the trade table, Pom?
Yeah, but why would you want I think you've got thousands of players like Gary Rowan.
Oh, he's a pretty dead-eye dick though, and he's fast. But he's got a good relationship with the physio as well, though. No,
mate, you got to make sure you have male physios around this boy. But old Chucky, he's 189, isn't he? 190, right? He's 33. So for me here, do you need that? Membry's still got a bit of football in there. And I think Gary Rowan feeds off everyone else's hard work. I think Membry can create stuff. So I'll be going Membry. I'm not too sure why.
I agree.
I know Josh is loving Gary Rowan. I don't know if you're his burner. Hi, Gary, if you are.
No, I do certainly like Membry over Rowan. I rate Rowan as a footy player. I just don't think he gets on the field enough. And is just perpetually being injured. To your point about Carlton, mate, you're bang on. He's kicked 30 goals in 12 games against Carlton and is 9-3 against them, and has got.
Mate, honestly, just tell him you're playing Carlton. He'll kick you 100 a year.
Okay, all right. Tim Membry is at the forefront of my mind now. He's at the forefront of my mind. Was there someone else? Ben Hobbs, Pommy. Ben Hobbs.
Oh, the Hobbs dog.
Tell me. Talk to me.
He's a fascinating one here because if I ever had to draw a player that Brad Scott would like, it's probably Ben Hobbs. He just strikes me as that type of guy. But he can't get extended game time up there. They've tried him everywhere. They've tried him on the ball. They've tried him. That's where he was when he was a junior. They've tried him playing up that half forward line, playing as a defensive forward. Hasn't quite got going. But then you watch him in the VFL I know it's VFL, but this guy's averaging 30 touches. This guy looks the real Dayal. Like, he looks solid, man. He looks solid. So, good user of the ball, loves it in close. Definitely got a little bit of Tom Mitchell vibes about him in the terms of that he could be that type of player, a bit of a late boomer, got a decent body on him. And you've got the players to take these punts, because if Tom Mitchell can teach him the ways of the dark arts, it could be a good one. But it's going to be an interesting one, because you've got a lot of young midfielders at your club, haven't you, who we haven't quite seen yet that people forget about.
Mate, our midfield stocks are depleted in the youth. Like, you look at Finn McRae, Lockie Sullivan, Jack Bytel. Ed Allen is looking prosperous. I can't lie. He's looked really good. But, mate, to be fair, outside of that, I'll quickly pull up our list. But I'm not seeing much in our...
Definitely inside is... From looking at your list profile, inside mids are shallow, because like Ed Allen's more of an outsider who may run through the inside in 2 years.
Well, Finn and certainly Finn McRae was supposed to be that inside midfielder to, I guess, fix all our problems within the confines of the contest and replace players like Tom Mitchell moving forward. But he hasn't been that guy just yet, unfortunately.
If it was a choice between Ben Hobbs and Alex Davis, I'm telling you, Alex Davis all day long.
Well, he's got more would love him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, Stefano would love him. He's quick, he's sexy, he dances around, he's tough. So, like I say, his idol's Tuck Miller, and he plays very like Tuck Miller. He's got that sexy little thing Tuck Miller does, where he lurks at the back of the stoppage and then just bursts at it. So that, for me, is very, very Collingwood Football Club.
Yeah. And just to your point with that inside room, Ned Long, mid-season draft, he's okay, but he's a fringe player. Look, the reality is, mate, Nick Dacos has been our hit-to guy this year. I think Nick Dacos would be better served as the guy who gets the handball from within the contest in the midfield. And we need to find that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to overextend Nick Dacos. You want to keep Nick Dacos playing to his strengths. So I think what happens quite a lot with young midfielders, Sam Walsh definitely went through this at Carlton, that it becomes an over-reliance, and it's like, because you're good at this and you're better than everyone else at this hard stuff, maybe we should put you in there. And some players can thrive on it, but then you get players like Paddy Dow that should have never been anywhere near the contest, and it ruins their careers. So it's really important that I agree with you that you get Nick Dacos doing what he's good at. And if you need someone to be the fall guy, find someone to be the fall guy so he can do the best work, because you'll win more games getting Nick Dacos free than you will him pissing about trying to find ball.
Yeah. I think I just want to go back to it. Firstly, Joshua's been asking, I have to bring it up. Maybe make this a quick one regarding Chad. He wants to know about Chad Wingard, but I don't know what he wants to know about.
Yeah, I hope Josh is a closet Carlton fan and he's bringing you down from the inside, signing old hacks. I really hope that's the case, because this could be
Gary Rowland.
Not for me. No, not for me with you guys. Like, I don't. I look at your list and it's on the dangerous side of old.
Yeah,
I think you need to be trying to add some rejuvenation while you've still got serviceable older players.
By the way, Pom, if we go someone like Tim Membry, which like I said, I'm liking the sounds of it, what does that mean for Reef McInnes? The writing would also be on the wall for him. He'd almost have to look elsewhere, because arguably his best position this year has been playing that pseudo key, third key tall forward. I think they've recently trialled him in the back line. He's kicked, where is it, Pom? Give me 1 second. I'm here. He's averaged 1.5 goals in 9 matches off the back of 54% time on ground. Statistically, it looks good. It really does.
It does, but do you look at Reef McInnes and like say, fuck, he's like, no offense, but I don't look at Reef McInnes and go, oh shit, we're playing Reef McInnes this week. So I think he needs time to build it. He needs to build that form. And I just don't think if you had an injury to Brody Myercheck, heaven forbid, and Dan McStay, would you trust him playing full forward on his own?
No, well, you just have to look at the Melbourne game. We didn't have McStay or Myercheck, and Fly did not pick Kruger or McInnes to be in the forward line. Both not selected, both played VFL.
So, yeah, so I think from that point of view, Tim Membry gives you that stopgap so you can put a bit of time into players.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Josh with another one. 2 meter Peter from Essendon.
I mean, I'd love to come on here and just destroy Collingwood, but I mean, far be it from me. No, I don't. I think for me, the model is you want to bring players in that suit your philosophy. So when I think about forwards at Collingwood, they are maybe medium size, not giants, and they're looking to work up ground, which creates space in behind, which is why you have an astronomical amount of goals kicked from midfield because of the space these forwards draw the big guys away so they can work on the deck. So for me, you want to keep that model. Tim Membry's done that his entire career. Dan Butler scores tons of goals and Jack Higgins off his hard work. So I think you keep that mantra because I think you'll draft in a forward that suits that philosophy. It would be a huge culture shift for Collingwood to go, right, we like Carlton having 2 giants there. Let's put 2 giants there. I think you'll go with the mantra that served you well. And I think that works.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Pommy, last thing, and we'll let you go and we'll probably jump off as well, mate. You've given us information overload, and I think there's going to be a lot of things that we've spoken about today to revisit and sort of soak up. But just regarding the father-son rule changes next year, it goes from a 20% discount down to 10%, right? And
does indeed.
When it comes to stockpiling picks, you won't be able to do that next year, or to a certain extent. So hypothetically for Thomas McGuire next year, let's just say for argument's sake, he's a top 5 draft pick. In the past, I'm not sure if you remember the Nick Dacos draft and what Collingwood had to do to get him to get the right draft value. What was that? What did Collingwood give up in that draft to get Nick Dacos and versus what we'd have to give up for Thomas McGuire with the new rule setting?
Yeah, so last year it was pick 3, wasn't it, Nick Dacos, from memory?
Yeah, we took him at pick 4.
Pick 4. So under the old rules, that's 2,034 points. So that's and that's discounted to 1,627. Right. So that from memory, I haven't got it in front of me, but I think that was like you did the 2 seconds, which was like 1,600 value. It was quite a cheap value for you. Mm-hmm. What that would mean now is, so we haven't got a set rule anymore to not hoard picks. How the AFL have negated that is currently pick 1 to pick 72 has a value. Now that cuts off at 54, which is the traditional end of round 3. So although you can still hoard picks per se, it's going to be a lot harder to do what we've seen happen before, where teams hoard 3rd and 4th rounders, because now nothing has value after that area. So there's still, don't get me wrong, there's still going to be idiot clubs who are going to be trading a 1st rounder for 6 seconds or something. There'll still be stupid clubs who do it. But effectively, it just makes it harder that you're going to have to hold them picks. And you've got to remember as well that you've got to use that 1st rounder, 2 1st rounders in every 4-year blocks. So that is really important to remember as well. So it's going to affect it somewhat. I would say about Thomas McGuire, though, as good as he is now, there's a lot of players that are top 10 last year that die this year. So a good example of this year, Tom Gross was named in the top 20 players in the country. He's currently just outside that. There was the Oliver De Polykubank, the Tasmanian boy, who is now scheduled to go about 55. A lot will happen. And I will tell you this as well. I think with the father-son rules, they've never gone where they should be. They've always gone about 5 or 6 players lower. I think you'll actually see this get worse as AFL goes on now. I think you'll actually see Thomas probably being lucky to be 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. It's a fair call. It's so hard to tell. He's young. And I think having the name McGuan attached to you is going to hype you up a little bit. So I think next year we'll get a better understanding. My only concern with McGuan is without watching I've watched games of him, but I can't watch every game that he plays. He just looks like another midfield, a good midfielder, small body midfielder who collects the ball in bunches, is a really good outside player, but he's going to have to develop something a little bit more than that next year to be like top 5, I think.
Yeah, he's only a baby. He's only a baby, and he's got all the time in the world to perfect his craft. So just cool your jets on him. He could be a very good footballer, but I do think it's a common rule. The father-sons, although it's a romantic rule, it's the stupidest rule in the AFL because no player goes at the value they should do because no one wants to be a big meanie in a competitive sport. Right. It would be lovely if the AFL had a little bit of legitimacy about it. That Nick Dacos draft, honestly, I had tears in my eyes when I first saw Nick Dacos play football. Honestly, I'm not even joking. It was like the first time I heard the Beatles, and he was another level to the footballers that were there. Another level. So he shouldn't have been the first pick. He should have guaranteed to be the first pick. So for him to slide, it's always going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. But we want to keep a lookout.
Very, very lastly, Carlton picked 62, 65, 69 for the Camperelli brothers to get the draft points up. That in future times isn't going to be possible.
The baggers with the brown paper bags, making sure the AFL doesn't change it this year. Yes, so obviously, yes. So right now, Carlton can do that. If this was under the rules next year, we'd have to make something happen. So we are fortunate that it hasn't happened to us this year. Makes a change, though. It would have been a travesty. But so basically, what you're looking at is pick 1 will still be 3,000. The AFL worded it stupidly, but the pick 1 will still be worth 3,000 points. It then goes down to 2,481 as opposed to 2,017. So they've still kept the pick 1 at 3,000, which it's 10% less after that. So it's worth noting, but 54 is your cutoff. But remember, you can use 2 lots of future seconds next year. So teams will still find ways around this, though. But all it stops is Gold Coast and the Doggies doing what they did last year. And what Gold Coast did last year is nothing short of a Mickey Mouse. Like how the AFL didn't close that. I did a video in 2022 warning everyone about Gold Coast draft hand. And I can't believe the AFL didn't close it then. Because now it's going to be closed, and we look for the next 5 years. I don't think anyone's got a monopoly of NGAs or father and son. So it's a bizarre time to change it. It should have been changed last year because we knew everyone was going to be affected. I mean, fucking hell, Brisbane. They've got another Ashcroft who's probably the second best player, if not the best player in the draft. And the rules have changed miraculously after they get these players.
So just with Gold Coast last year, they get 4 picks inside the top 20, all attached to their academy. What's the difference between their academy and the other academies that makes them have a point of difference again? Please remind me.
Well, Gold Coast Academy 1 is protected. The Victorian ones, up until this year, we took away the protection. But the big thing with their NGA academies is that has had a hell of a lot of money put in. Like that's the closest, their academy is the closest we've ever seen to one of the soccer academies we see in the UK, your Manchester United, your Man Cities. These kids are eating, drinking, nutrition from day dot. A good friend of mine, we interviewed him a couple of years ago in the draft. He tells the story that one of his mates was picked up by Gold Coast, was moved out over there, and like he was having pie and chips for post-game under 16s. He's gone and seen his mate. His mate's got a 6-pack. He's having protein shakes. He's got a fucking sleep program at 16 where the Victorian boys are still having a pie with dad at the servo. At the end of the game, macas and chips. So they're in a professional environment from a very young age. So what does it do? It makes you more mature. It makes you have a better understanding. Why do we have it in England? Because it prepares people for the real world. Being a professional footballer is a little bit hard. You do a line of cocaine in the toilets at 18 as a professional footballer. You're pillared as the worst person in the world. You're a tradie, though. You're just Barry having a Friday night. So they prepare these kids. Like, if you ever get to interview an academy player, it's like talking to an alien. These
They're like
kids
robot,
are,
huh?
yeah, like these kids are already ready to make a mistake. So gives you a little bit of a head start. Gives you a head start.
So Gold Coast, Sydney, GWS, they're protected. I think Academy up until pick 40 for other clubs was protected and is protected in this draft. But next, for moving forward after this draft, there is no protection for, or there is like there's full protection or no protection. Sorry, for the drafts moving forward. Sorry, Pom.
Yeah. So this year they've scrapped that. All NGAs are protected. So and that helps. I would predict when they voted this, Essendon have a major say. They're a big club. Isaac Keiko is top 20. So they've managed to change the rules at the right time for Isaac Keiko.
Yeah, so they can match a bid for Keiko, whereas last year they couldn't.
Yeah, last year, pick 15, 16, wherever he goes, he was a freebie for all. But AFL cheat.
All right, Pommy, you're a legend, mate. I think mate, we're going to have you back on next week because this was a lesson in trading and draft. And mate, you're well-versed, mate. So, and I think you were well-received today. So we want you back, mate.
Mate, my pleasure. Hey, guilty pleasure talking about you, Collingwood. I don't mind doing it, to be honest. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'll come back whenever you need me.
Legend, Pom. Enjoy your show, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Hey, brother. The Pom. What a star. Hey, here's the thing. I love my footy. I love Collingwood. But I have deficiencies when it comes to the trade and the draft understanding. So I need you guys and I need the Pom to help me out to better educate people moving forward and understand the business, the red tape, the bureaucracy of the AFL landscape. So that's why we get him on. He's a good laugh. I've had phone calls with Pommy and we're on the phone and all of a sudden it's, I've missed dinner and I've been speaking to Pom for 2 hours. So he's a good man. He's got a lot of time. Got a lot of time for anyone who means well. But wow, haven't we covered off a bit here? So we've covered John Noble. We talked Jack Lukosius, Alex Davies, Peatling from GWS has now piqued my interest. Tim Membry from St Kilda has now piqued my interest. Joe Richards, we spoke about that. Sam Berry, Mark Keane, Ben Hobbs, Battle, Barras, Tom Lynch. Slobber, how you going, mate? Anthony Irishman, when it comes to thanks Mushroom Effect. I appreciate it. We all learn from each other. Exactly, Stephanos. Exactly. But yeah, I think the good thing is we've got money in the kitty now because of those contracts being signed by the older players today. And we can only imagine they're lesser contracts compared to what they're typically accustomed to. And we have options. Alex Davies, I like the sound of Alex Davies, I like the sound of Peatling. Sam Berry's just signed on for 2 years at Adelaide. Mark Keane is an option who we could probably get, according to Pom, we could probably get him for where are we at now? Sorry, let me just double check. We could probably get him for pick 48, pick 50. It really sounds like people willing to go. I think, Slobber, playing past 34 is possible. Definitely more so now, just with the resources, physio, strength and conditioning. Look at Dane Zorko, look at Scott Pendlebury, look at Stephen May, look at Sidebottom, look at Jeremy Howe, look at Mason Cox. There's players who are able just to play for longer now. If we look at the league as a whole, let's have a look at the oldest players in the league, right? Let's go age. Travis Spoke, okay, probably on his way out. Tom Hawkins probably on his way out. But you got Dane Zorko, Taylor Walker, Patrick Dangerfield, Luke Bruce. These players are all still doing their bits, even Nathan Fife, albeit more of a role. Chris, it's just any chance for a short summary in another video? I did the trade rumors video tier list, which is probably a little bit now rendered outdated, which is why we did this. But I'll try to do a couple individual videos on players like Peatling. Denver Granger Barras was of conversation as well. We've talked about Mark Keane in the past. Alex Davies is new to the conversation. But yeah, Stefanos Boak, Prestia Wines. Age is just a number at this point. So, I'm just saying. I'm saying with Luke Bruce. I'm just saying. I was making the point that age is merely just a number these days because of the resources available to prolong players' careers. Perfect example: Scott Pendlebury, Dane Zorko, so on and so forth. So I think where players would retire at 33, 34 in the past, we're now looking to get that closer to 35, 36 with a handful of them in the AFL already right now. So that's the rationale behind that. Tom Lynch, it seems like he's someone we would have to trade for if we wanted to get him on our books, and I don't like the idea of that, particularly when Tim Membry is of conversation. Let me write him down. Let's talk about Tim Membry, Denver Granger, Barras, and Peatling and Davies. These are the new players that we should draw our attention to, and I will definitely look at making a video just revisiting the conversation of those players, because we can get all those players for unders, and Tim Membry is an unrestricted free agent. So all we owe to him is a salary. We won't have to give up picks. So that's why he is a better option than Tom Lynch as it stands. We spoke about Petracca at the start, and I think the best route or opportunity for Collingwood to procure someone like Petracca is how Melbourne are probably going to need to save their reputation in this situation. There's a lot of turmoil in the media. They're not looking very good in the face of the media scene, and that goes a long way for what they're trying to represent themselves as. And if they do right by Petracca, we don't know, but we can assume that there's been some mismanagement of Petracca, and he's doubled down. He wants to leave. So Melbourne probably need to do the right thing by Petracca and save their reputation, and maybe just give up Petracca for lesser value for the sake of their club. It's unfortunate that it's happened now, because if it happens in 12 months' time, clubs can give away 3 first-round picks for Petracca rather than 2 first-round picks. Don't ask me how it happens, but I think there's going to be a lot that comes into it with Petracca, and I don't see Petracca remaining at Melbourne. Not with the culture of the club, Clayton Oliver, Joel Smith, Cosy Pickett once out. Like, there's just too much. It's just a fucking mess. It's a mess. So that's where we stand. Anyhow, guys, I think we've covered a bit, and I'm going to revisit some of the conversation with Pommy and do some research and some education. So thank you all for joining us. This was a massive video. We'll do this every Thursday. We will do this every Thursday leading up to the end of the trade window, because I think there's always heaps happening with Collingwood and the word trade. So I'll leave you with it, guys. It was good to see you guys, despite it being off-season. Steve will talk about Mitch Lewis as well in the future. That's someone I've liked a bit as well. But all right, we'll leave you guys with it. Take care. Go Pies.